Entrepreneur life requires risk, persistence, and a slightly unreasonable belief that this thing you're building is going to work.
And let's not forget, copious amounts of caffeine.
Yes, that too.
Hey guys, I'm Allison, the Caffeinated Entrepreneur, an AI-powered business strategist and systems builder with an energy level that should probably come with a warning label.
And I'm Bernie, the man behind the mustache. I'm a virtual events producer who makes sure the tech works, the delivery is clean, and nobody panics, including Allison.
Each week, we are picking up the conversation where my weekly newsletter leaves off. No teaching, no pretending we have it all figured out.
Just two entrepreneurs talking honestly about the highs and lows of growing our own businesses.
And why some ideas are worth sipping on a little bit longer. Welcome to the Caffeinated Entrepreneur. Let's go behind the brew. Hey friends, grab your favorite caffeinated beverage and join us for today's episode where we're going behind the brew of issue number 54, Raising a Little Entrepreneur. Pray for me. Hey, Bernie, how are you today?
Allison, other than sleep deprived, I am well. The babies are
New
good.
baby life, new dad life.
Yeah, it's been an interesting few weeks. I think I shared this last time, maybe I didn't, but Gia, the new baby, sleeping almost through the night, eating really well, healthy, no fuss, all the good things. My daughter Gwen has continued and even exponentially increased the level of her terror in our household. She sleeps significantly less now. She's jealous and always wants attention. So it's been a fun transition these past few days, a few weeks.
Yeah. Oh, good times. Real quick, we got to talk coffee cups. Okay. So listeners, so you are aware, Bernie is not allowed to share his coffee cup today because it's the one with the bad words on it. So you have to go find the episode where we talked about that one already because he's already had this cup. Do you want to give them a hint as to which cup it is?
Ronald McDonald.
That's all we're going to say. So you're going to have to go discover which episode that was in. We're only on episode 11,
Only
so
a
there's
few,
not that many you have to go back. Right. We're not that far in. But my mug today is my Route 66 mug. And so another travel story. I feel like most of my mugs are from traveling. But we, in all of our RV travels, Joel became obsessed with Route 66. And every state that we went into, we would do some sort of trip down Route 66 and he would research all of the different landmarks. And I mean, we saw some of the coolest stuff traveling down Route 66. So I have a lot of Route 66 paraphernalia, but the mug is one of them. And super fun RV memories attached to this one. Like so many good adventures.
Cool. I've never gone on that, obviously I've never lived the RV lifestyle, but like that extended long road trip, I feel like that would be a really, really cool experience, but also, as I watched you live it to a degree, an exhausting experience at the end.
So, well, speaking of kids, it all ties back to our podcast episode today. So guys, the Raising a Little Entrepreneur newsletter, usually I try to go back into my archives and pull from a newsletter that I wrote 6, 7, 8 months ago, and then kind of rehash it now. But this one is a recent issue that I wrote, but it got such an incredible response from people. I got a lot of replies to it. I got a lot of shares from it because there was two things about this that people loved. Number one is just the hysterical story that I told about my 10-year-old who literally started his own mini elementary school economy, right? It started with selling stickers in the second grade that he bought from the school store and then sold off piece by piece, making more money than he spent,
kid.
right? And then turned into a whole bracelet making business that he actually just tried to resurrect and it didn't go so hot. But, I got to hand it to him. He tried to bring it back, but it was really good for about a month. And just kind of that whole aspect of it that everyone thought was really funny. But on the flip side, one of the things that I touched on was that entrepreneurship kind of feels like a sickness that once you got it, you can't get rid of it. It's like a bug that just sort of sticks and there's no real cure for it. And how are we as parents who are entrepreneurs infecting our children for better or for worse with this? So it was kind of, so I think I think today, Bernie, that's kind of the where I want to lean in is like how are we as entrepreneurs impacting our children and influencing them with how they think about work and entrepreneur life and failure and roller coaster and excitement and success,
Yeah.
all the things. So if you're down,
That is the
that's where we're headed.
conversation we're having, and obviously, children are very top of mind for me right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
clearly.
So, I think what's interesting, and we started to talk about it a little bit in the pre-show, um, is that I think every parent at some point or another is really frustrated that their kid is not listening to you, right? You're telling them, do this, do that, right? But wash the dishes, take the garbage out, whatever it is, and they, you think they don't hear you. But it's not really about what you're
Yeah.
saying to them that they're paying attention to, right? What they're paying attention to is how you're behaving and what you're doing, right? And they tend
Mhm.
to not do
Yep.
what you say, but rather model your behavior. And that is, it's really interesting when you start to actually see it in action, and I think it's really
Yeah.
interesting in,
Yeah.
in business, right? Now we're talking back the other way. What are our kids seeing us do in our business with our
Mhm.
money, right? Our careers or
Mhm.
whatever that looks like. And what are some of the things that we're teaching them that they're going to carry forever potentially?
Yeah. Yeah, and how we're reacting to struggles
Yeah.
and to success and all the things. So, yeah, very specifically. So, one of the things that compelled us to start RV Life was the fact that my husband was running his own
Hmm.
business for a decade, and he was a tool man. So, Snap on Matco, he was an independent tool guy, but that kind of thing where he ran a truck. And not only did he work all day, every day out on the truck running his route, but he came home and then he had admin work to do. And then on the weekends, he's fixing things and his truck would break down. And we would be in the car getting ready to leave for church. And he'd look at his truck and he'd see a hose hanging out from the bottom. And he'd be like, guess I'm not going to church today. And he'd get out and we'd go and he'd be home covered in grease by the time we got back, right? Because that truck was his lifeline for his business, which paid our bills, put food on the table, all the things. And so the kids saw that for years and years and years where daddy just worked all the time. So fast forward to the other side of RV life. He does have a corporate job now, but I'm the entrepreneur, and one of the things that he has really emphasized, not just for me, but also for him, is our
Hmm.
work hours. And it's like we have got to make sure that we put boundaries around when we work and how much we work because we don't want the kids to just constantly think that life was about work and that they're not more important or our family's not more important than work. And gosh, like, there's that they always ask that question. Well, I don't know if you've ever had this question asked, but I've been in a lot of coaching groups and they ask this question. When you're 80 years old and you look back, what will matter most? Is it the number of hours you work and the amount of money you've made or the relationships that you have? And of course, we're all like, no, when I'm 80, it's the relationships. And then yet 5 minutes later, I'm at my desk and I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know you just came home from school, but just
That's
I got to
right.
finish this email. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's so easy to answer that question the
Sure.
right way and then very hard to live it in
Yeah, I mean,
practicality.
absolutely true. But a lot of it also is circumstantial, I think, right? Like, where you're at in your business. And it's great to say that, yeah, when I'm in my 80s and I'm laying on my deathbed and I'm looking back, what am I going to want to have spent the time on? Yeah, of course you're going to want to have spent it on relationships. But the reality is here in my 40s, I've got money to make so that I can pay for a house for my kids and put food on the plates. Like, and
Right.
it's hard sometimes
Yeah.
to justify it. But I think that you'll relate to this as well. It's like that is kind of the ultimate love. Like I want to be here. There's no doubt about it. But I'm sacrificing the time so I can make sure that they do have the things that they
Yeah.
that they need and should have in their lives.
Absolutely. And I know that so this is going to touch in that traditional relationship husband wife thing, right? In our marriage, and I know this is not true for every marriage, but for our marriage, Joel has always said it's my responsibility to provide for our family. If you make money, I want that to be extra. I want that to be vacation money, savings money, buy something else, right? But he very much has always seen it as his responsibility to provide financially for our family all of the basic necessities so that I can choose to work, but I don't have to work. And then here I am, the wife, being like, but I can contribute, but I could, but I could, but I could. And his whole thing has always been like, well, yes, absolutely, you can, but I don't want you to have to. And I felt as a wife like he was putting this incredible amount of pressure on himself, trying to get a business that was a very hard business in a very hard industry. Mechanics are no joke. These are, I'm not saying all mechanics have no integrity. I mean, my husband did, but a lot of them don't, right? They'll take your tools and
I
they'll
mean,
run without
like not
paying.
all stereotypes
Um,
are legit, but some of them are, and there's a reason for them.
but yeah, like I always felt like he was putting this incredible amount of pressure on himself so that I didn't feel the pressure and thus I felt the pressure. And then it's like that trickled down to our kids. And so it's like now we're trying so hard not to do that. But are we doing that? And how bad can we screw up our kids? I don't even know. It's like this endless cycle of like, do it wrong so you do it right, but then are you really doing it right? Because maybe you're still doing it wrong. I don't
Yeah,
even
I mean,
know.
I think like raising kids and in business, there's no one size fits all for how you do it. Um, if there is a book that explicitly can tell anyone and everyone how to raise a child so that they become a productive member of society, and not all the serial killer bad stuff that unfortunately, like, cool, but I've yet to see that book. I've yet to read a
Yeah.
book where it is across the board or training is across the board when it comes to raising a kid or running a business. But uh, in both, unfortunately, to a degree, a lot of it is trial and error, right? You have to go
Mhm.
into it with your best intentions and give it a shot. And that can be
Yeah.
tough. It can be really tough, especially if the failure is something that potentially hurts the income or sacrifices time with the family and doesn't
Right.
doesn't work out.
Right. Well, and ultimately too, and we mentioned this pre-show, I think personality of the
Big.
child very much plays into the way
Yeah.
they react to the way that you choose your work life to look like. So, I have 5 kids. Out of 5 of them, kid number 1 saw me, even though I was a stay-at-home mom, I was constantly side hustling. I was crocheting and selling on Etsy, or I was doing direct sales and doing cleaning products, right? And she very much wanted to be a part of whatever I
Mhm.
was doing. And so she started her own little crochet business. She had a little cupcake business. Now, mind you, we paid for all her ingredients, which kind of
Oh,
felt like not fair to us, but whatever, right? And now you come onto this end, and kid number 5 is like, yeah, I'm gonna make bracelets and sell them, and I'm gonna raise my prices, and I'm gonna add charms, I'm gonna
mhm.
make color. Like he's this whole thing, and then as soon as that runs out, like I said in the email, he started writing,
Yeah.
he's selling ducks, like these stupid little
Yeah.
plastic ducks. Like, what the heck is a duck? But he can't not think about that. Like he's trying to sell me stuff. He's constantly on the brain. What do I have that I can sell to make money? My other 2 girls, not even. Like those middle number 3, number
Not
4, not even a little bit. Like, yeah, I'll pull weeds. Do I get paid for the chore? Like, no. Oh, okay. It's not like money's
right.
not on the brain. So that personality plays in big, and that kind of comes back to this whole like entrepreneurship as a disease thing. Like some people
Mhm.
just have it. I don't know if it even mattered if I was an entrepreneur or not. Jared doesn't remember Joel,
Mhm.
running his own business. Like he was too little for that, but he sees me. I don't know if it would matter. I just wonder if he
Yeah,
has the bug.
it
You know
could
what I mean?
legit be in the DNA, right? And I think it's again, it's partially what you're exposed to and the season of life and the personality, right? Like I don't foresee my stepson Ben getting into learning and development and like this space. I don't think he has the patience for it. But
Yeah.
could that kid be a YouTuber? Yeah, absolutely. Right. That is an aspect of what I do, right? Creating videos and doing events from that perspective. Like
Right.
that is absolutely something that he could take away from time with me and go and do. Right. And then I mentioned
Mhm.
earlier, yet not any significant context at this point, but like my daughter the other day, Gwen, I was coming downstairs to go and do some work. And so I went over and I gave her a kiss. I was like, okay, Gwen, you guys going to do some work. I'll be back in a little bit. And she started crying, right? Because now I've been spending a bit more time at home. So she wanted to spend more time with daddy. Cool. I said, no, I'm going to go downstairs and go to work. And she cried a little bit. She walked away. She turned around and came back and said, I work. And like it kind of
Mhm.
it kind of broke my heart a little bit because all this little girl wants to do is spend a little bit of time with dad, and now in her head one of the only ways that she can spend time with dad when she wants to is to go to work.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
like, so I really, I wonder, as these kids grow up, what parts and pieces are they going to take? How is it going to show up in their lives? It is interesting, and I guess fortunately or unfortunately, it takes time to see, you know, how that all plays out.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let me ask you this, because you're just being vulnerable. I'm just
Sure.
going to keep digging because why not? Is there a time when, and I know again your kids are very little, but Ben might remember where, well, we can even talk about when you were
Mhm.
doing Uber, like when you were really really struggling and had maybe a really bad attitude about your job that your kids were picking up on, and it affected their attitude or the way they were approaching, for them, whatever work there is, for Ben, it would be
Sure.
school. Like, have you experienced anything like that? Like, has your attitude affected the way they think about their
I mean,
little
I
selves?
think I want to say in a positive way, right? Of course, but I don't know that I can answer that necessarily. I would have to imagine though that, you know, if I come home in a shitty mood, it's going to impact everybody in the room, right? I can't think of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
specific example where that was the case, but you know, I guess generally speaking, a lot of kids will act out, right, in those type of situations, and we haven't seen a whole lot of that here, which I think has been really good. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think I have a good answer for that one, to be honest with you, in my experience, thankfully.
I can promise you I've had it happen. So I guess, entrepreneur life, I don't care if you're doing direct sales or if you're doing, online business or if you're doing brick and mortar, like I find that the messy middle of the business, that's that roller coaster. That's that you're high one day and you're
Hmm.
down the next and you're up next couple, whatever. For me, that fluctuation, I did not do a good job controlling for a very long time. Um, and I know it affected my older kids in a very big way because it was the whole like, and to your point, like you're in a bad mood, everyone feels it. It's like if mom's not happy, nobody's happy. Like, don't don't go talk to mom. Like, you good at whatever you say, she's gonna lose it. So don't. But I can tell you where I've seen that, it was in my third daughter plays softball. And when she was just starting with softball, I'd be like, Abigail, you're just starting. Of course you're not gonna hit the ball every time you swing. You're just starting. You're not gonna catch every pop fly. You don't know the rules yet. You got out because you ran, but you shouldn't have ran. You didn't know. And I'm like trying
Hmm.
to help her, like, you're just starting, whatever. And at one point, I said to her, Abigail, embrace the suck. It's okay. Just embrace the suck. You suck at it, embrace it. You're learning. I kid you not. I remember distinctly sitting at my kitchen table. And at that time, I was doing direct sales and I was trying to book parties, right? And I'm sending messages and I was getting really frustrated, because I was getting a lot of no's, which it's just part of the game. It's the numbers game, particularly in that type of industry. And she had no idea what the context was. She just saw me sitting at the table, frustrated and like, you know, and I think she was, gosh, she was in the fourth grade, however old that is.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that 8 years
nine
old? Maybe I
ish,
don't
yeah.
know how, 8, 9. And I remember her going, Mom, embrace the suck. And she said it with such attitude, kind of like Gwen throwing the socks at Ben, right? And it was like she just threw my words right back at me with this tone of like, if you're going to tell me to do it, you have to do it too, mom. And I was like, oh, that stung. And I was like, my attitude absolutely was affecting. It was the advice I was giving her. It's not that she didn't take my advice or hear my advice, but she was throwing it
Hmm.
back at me. And I
Hmm.
didn't like it, but I was at the same time kind of thankful for it. You know what I mean? And so I do think that's affecting the way that I try to talk about my business now. And I try to be careful not to just share frustrations. I share excitement. But there are days where I'm like, you know what, I had a really bad day. I'm just gonna go hide. You know what I mean, guys? Like, but I don't want to get mad at anybody. I'm just gonna excuse myself after dinner and
Go
go
put myself
disappear.
on ice for a few minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, mommy needs a
Right.
timeout.
Kids having a bathtub. We're looking for a new house, and I've told Joel you cannot buy a house that does not have a bathtub because I 2.5 years in an RV without a bathtub is unacceptable. I need a bathtub to soak in on those hard days.
Ty would agree with you. Here,
Just saying.
the in the house that I bought, there was an older lady. She was a nun that owned the house before us, and so she had her bathroom redone right before apparently she decided to sell the house. She was a senior lady, so like we have the little handicap bars in there. There is no tub. There's just a little lip to make sure nobody trips over it. And so like my daughter, she's literally in her lifetime only had one bath and an actual bathtub when she went and spent the night at grandma's because we don't have one. So yeah, our next house.
Just get a little kiddie pool in there. She'll be fine. She'll be fine. That's funny. The things that we are so used to, and then the first world problems, right? There are people in this world who are like bathing in rivers. So I'm
True.
like,
Sorry.
I should not complain. But all right. So okay, I want to shift gears ever so slightly because something else I did mention in the newsletter is that idea of there's these comeback stories. There's these triumph stories that we all know of these super famous people that struggle before hitting it big. And we hear them in these motivational talks. And it's, Michael Jordan misses 90% of the shots that he makes, but it's because he takes so many that he wins so many games. And, we all know the J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter, at 35 rejection letters. And
Yep.
now, like, Harry Potter is literally its own world, right? And I have to admit, and this is like, I have to be careful, again, not to convey this to my kids, but I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about your amazing story, how you once sucked and now you're super famous and awesome, because I'm stuck in that middle part and your story isn't
Yeah.
inspiring. It's frustrating, right? Like, is it just me or are you like
I
feeling
think I,
that
I,
vibe?
I
Because
think I
I
kind of
don't even.
toe the line both sides a little bit. There are days where I'm like, I need that inspiration. I need to look to somebody else and be like, okay, they tried it 99 times. I've now tried it 99 times. But on the 100th time they got it, maybe if I give it one more shot, and I need that extra motivation to take the
Yeah.
one more shot. But there are most certainly some days where I've taken 200 shots and I'm like, fuck this. God, don't tell me one more positive thing. Shut up.
Right. Right. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm like, this is okay. This is just me being like negative ninny, right? But I'm like, we hear of the handful of incredible success stories that came out of massive adversity or whatever. We don't hear of the thousands that were never successful because they never beat the adversity, right? Because we don't know their stories. And
Yeah,
so
nobody's
I
giving
do, there
keynotes
are
about
moments
how many times and how badly they failed. Like that is
and
right.
and still fail, like and continue to fail. If Steve Jobs did not actually get back to Apple after getting fired,
We know
we
who
would
he is.
not know who
That's right.
Steve Jobs is,
That's right.
right? We'd have no idea. So yeah, so I guess there's that and again, maybe it's just that stage of the business that I'm in right now. Like I've been doing this for 4-ish years and I just finally feel like just a smidgen of momentum after 4 years of evolving and changing and growing and figuring it out. And I shared this on not on Facebook, on LinkedIn the other day, but like I was in tears with my coach, absolute tears, because I was like, I am working my butt off to create demand, and nothing is coming from it except people telling me how awesome what I'm teaching is, and oh my gosh, you're so good. You're so,
Pay me.
well, freaking pay me money to be better for you, like whatever. And you and I have talked about this before, but then she challenged me to do a very specific, thing that I did, and it worked, and I'm having ended up being a really, in fact, the best month I've literally ever had. But that being said, I was like, I'm just in the middle of this like frustrating. I've been growing for so long that I'm ready to actually start experiencing some of the super success. But then it's like, oh, Bernie, it just all comes around to like, well, you're moving the goalpost, Allison. Because if I was thinking about what success looked like this time a year ago, I'd be thrilled at
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
doing now. You know,
Well,
I don't know. I'm a
I think
mess.
that there's a couple of things to talk through here. Like one, you've probably heard this number as well. As a business owner, you got to get to about 3 to 5 years. Like you got to get through some of the lean hard times. Like if you make it to year 3 to 5, 4, you're probably going to make it. There are so many businesses that never make it beyond a year or 2 years, right? They've
Yeah.
never ever get off the ground. So that's one thing, is just you have to put in the time. But then the other piece I
Hmm.
think, which is really important, is just kind of human nature, and how we learn and process and incorporate things, right? The cycle of performance is actually pretty linear. You have the unconscious incompetence. You just don't know what you don't know. And then all of a sudden, now I'm consciously competent and I do know what I don't know. But now that I know that there's a bunch of shit I don't know, that's really frustrating. And I'm not sure if I actually want to do all the shit that I need to do in order to know all the stuff I need to know. But the ones who get past that part, right, that is the messy middle right there. Once you get past that part and now you are consciously competent, you know that you know what you're talking about. It's just you have to still think about it a little bit. And once you get to that last phase,
Mm.
right, unconsciously incompetent, that is where it's just part of who you are. It's your identity. That's where you're able to talk about those success stories. I've been through the trenches, and this is how it happened, and I came out. But yeah, when you're in, because I'm equally in it with you right now in the messy middle, it is
Hmm.
hard some days. It is really frustrating to hear
Yeah.
somebody else's success story when you're sitting there like, dude, I've been
Hmm.
digging this same ditch for the last 6 months and I have not added 1 inch of depth to it. What the am I doing? Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that was amazing because it is. I think that that's the whole point of these conversations. As I feel like we have got to be saying out loud what so many of us are thinking inside of our heads, but we are afraid to admit because I have to look successful all the time to convince people that I know what I'm doing, I'm an expert and they should pay me because like if I'm not successful, how the heck am I going to support their business that's successful? You know what I mean? But then at the same time, it's like, well, then we're all just sharing our highlight reel, and we all think we're in it alone. And I think that's one of the reasons so many businesses go under, because so many people think they're the only one struggling with it, right? And so it's like, no. And if you only hear, the Hermosi story where he tells like of his life 20 years ago, well, that's a great story, Alex, but that's certainly not where your life is
Right.
right now.
Well, I think it's kind of
So it's,
interesting too, Allison. Like when you think about different people's stories and where they're at, and how they evaluate the things that they do. On one side of the coin, they're going to look at everything and they'll be like, oh man, I'm on this island. I'm by myself. I'm in a silo. Man, I've got no one else. But then on the other side, they look at their results and they're comparing it to somebody else who's 5 or 10 years down the line. They're like, oh man, I suck because I'm not at the place where this person is and haven't done the things that they're doing. And it is such a effed up contradiction, right? Like it's just, it
oh
goes
yeah.
both ways. Sorry.
Well, and I will say this, and speaking of the Hermosi thing, two things to that. Number one, he actually got interviewed by Tony Robbins, and I watched the whole interview on YouTube. And he's downright nervous talking to Tony Robbins because Tony Robbins is one of his idols, right? So it's like there's always somebody up above you or whatever. And he's like, you can hear it in his voice. He's like shaking. And Tony Robbins like kind of scolds him because he's like, you're super successful and you make incredible money and you make all this impact. And you admit that you're not joyful. Like you don't have joy. And you know what he told him to go do? Gotta love Tony Robbins. He told Hermosi he needed to go have kids. He's like, you really want to take things to the next level? Go have kids. Go conquer that mountain, Hermosi.
You don't know challenge
Just
until you
saying.
have
Just saying.
spawn.
Yeah, yeah. You think making 8 million, eight
Right.
figures is hard. Go have kids. So there's that. But I will also say this to circle back to the whole like, we have to appear successful so that people will pay us money to help make them successful. Speaking of Hermosi, I just started working with a woman and I am literally doing nothing but consulting for her because she is awesome at what she does. She's, making crazy money with her coaching program. She's got systems galore. Like her click up makes me like, you know what I mean? There's a little bit of a worship there. She got she got accepted into Hermosi's big program, like his whatever his big thing is in Vegas, wherever. She got accepted
Nice.
into that, right? I am working with a woman who got to sit in the presence of Alex Hermosi for 2 days, where that's not something that I even comprehend right now. And she still looks at me when we have a conversation. She's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing that you know. Like, I don't even know that. Like, thank you for that. Like, whatever. Because I have expertise that
Hmm.
she doesn't have. And I think that that is what we need to come back to in this whole like embrace the suck and I'm struggling or whatever, is that no matter how much we're struggling, we still have an area of expertise that somebody else who is technically on the books more successful than
Hmm.
us might, you know, look more successful, but they need our
Hmm.
expertise. They still need what we have because they don't have it, you
Absolutely
know.
true. You know,
So there's that.
it's funny that you say that. It was I was at Babs last year, and there was another president. We were having a conversation. I won't say at this point who it is, but we were having a conversation. He was like, you know, when I first joined SCN, I was really intimidated by you. I was really scared to have a conversation. And I was like, why? For God's sake, why? You're a millionaire, dude. Like, what do you think? Why?
Yeah.
But it is, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
It was the mustache. It was
It
all the
had to be.
mustache is
It
just
had to
super
be.
intimidating.
But it is. It's interesting. It's a matter of perspective, right? Like you look at this person that you're working with, your client, you're like, man, she's got her shit together. She's doing all the things that I feel like
Yeah.
I should be doing. But then she turns around and looks at you, and she's like, but you have the missing piece that I don't have. And everybody has
Mhm.
some degree of that. Nobody is going to be good at
Yeah.
everything.
Right. All holding keys that are going to unlock a door for
Right.
someone else, you know, that they
Yeah.
can't get through. So, all right, to circle this back, the whole we kind of went on a tangent, but that's what this podcast is all about. But bringing it back to the idea of like the entrepreneurial bug, right? Like, given all of that, all of what we just talked about, could you walk away and go back? Like, I've never been in corporate, but I can tell you right now, Joel was actually joking about me going back into teaching because we're in Texas, and both in Texas and Oklahoma, if you teach for 5 years now, you automatically get some sort of like
Little
awesome retirement
pension, yeah.
package or whatever, like because they can't get teachers to stay. There's like no retention anymore. And so he's like, I think you need to go back into teaching. And I'm like, well, let's just talk about all the reasons I can't. Like, I don't have a degree, teacher degree anymore. Like, I blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I'm like, but I wouldn't. Like, no matter how hard this entrepreneurial life is that I'm experiencing and the days that I'm crying hysterically to my coach for an hour, I still wouldn't want any other life. I would not go back to teaching. I would not go back to a 9 to 5. I never really had a 9 to 5, but like I wouldn't go into a 9 to 5 because I still love this life. I love this business. I love this control. I love the challenge. And it's like this sick little bug that I don't want to
Yeah,
kill.
I totally agree with you. I am to a point now where even my worst day owning my own business is better than my best day of having worked in corporate America. I actually was very fortunate to
Ooh,
have some
that's
really great mentors and coaches and leaders and work for some good organizations, some not so great ones as well. Get the contrast. But I would 100% rather build something for myself painstakingly and slowly than move really quickly and build it for someone else that I'll never ever see the benefit from. Right? There was I saw a YouTube
yeah.
video, maybe it was an article the other day. It's a joke, right? The guy's walking into his office and he sees his boss pull up in a new Ferrari and he compliments him on the Ferrari and the boss says, "Yeah, you know, if you go and work next year really hard, put 40 hours in a week and meet all your sales quotas, I can probably get another one."
Oh,
Like
that's
I
it.
don't not doing
Yep.
that. Even if I don't reach
Yeah.
you know the kingdom as it were in my business, I would much rather build whatever I build for myself than for someone else.
Right. You might have a really nice
Right.
minivan.
That's cool.
You have racing stripes down the side of it. No, but I think that, and see, that's the part about entrepreneurship that I want to make sure that if my kid is watching, right? And if my kid wants to do, you know, his own business, I want him to understand how hard it is, one, because this is not an easy life. And so it's not easy money, right? But at the same time, it's like, do you feel it in there? Because if you do, I want you to listen to it and I want you to go after it. Like I don't want you to give it up. And so it's not meant for everybody. I think another reason so many businesses never get off the ground is because a lot of people have great ideas. Not all of them are cut out for entrepreneurial life. And so it's funny because I don't know if you and I talked about this or not, but Joel, he's in a corporate position right now and he's loathing every minute of it. Money's good. Insurance is great, friend. We have insurance for like the first time in a long time. Love it. But he is counting down the days until he can go start his own business again, right? And he's put in the hours so that he can provide for his family and we can buy a house and all the things. But like his mind is like, I want to work for myself again. And he's already thinking ahead. And my goal is to earn enough money to make that possible for him. Like I want to help him get to that because that's his spirit. It's not to be the corporate guy.
Yeah.
You know what
And
I
I
mean?
think good, bad, or indifferent, a lot of people have to go through that bad corporate experience to recognize, as I did,
Yeah.
again, not all of mine were bad. I had a lot of great ones, that this was the path for me. If I were to rewind the
Mhm.
clock and go back to right after I graduated high school, or excuse me, right after I graduated college, I would not have been a good or successful entrepreneur or business owner. Like,
Mm.
it would not have been a good time. I had to
Yeah.
go through some of those steps in corporate America to figure out the things that I was good at, learn some of that basic training and how to communicate with people and do
Yeah.
all of those things so that now, here where I am, now I can do those things and run a business. At 26, I could
Yeah.
not have done what I do now.
Yeah. So do you think, so yeah, just we're going to keep circling this back around. Do you think that if you had had a parent who was an entrepreneur, that you would have been ready sooner?
Well, my stepdad, he does own his own business, a construction company. No, I don't think I would have done it any sooner had I been more involved with his business, because I was exposed to it. I was actually probably pushed away from it because, similar to how I started my business,
Mm.
when I was a kid, my stepdad was never around. He was always working side jobs
Yeah.
and growing his business and doing the things. Um, like, when I was 16, I worked with him for a little while. 16 to 18, I did summers, and
Mhm.
I remember taking bricks off of walls with a hammer and chisel, and I remember digging ditches, and then having to refill the hole a few hours later with the very same dirt. Like, that side of the
So
experience,
much
yeah,
character
it was
building.
totally character building, right? Like, that experience made me realize I need to go to college and learn something so that I don't have to do this type of work.
Mm.
So for me,
Yeah.
seeing my stepdad as an entrepreneur running his own business, that was actually the definition of really hard work. And in my teens, I was not about that life.
Right, right, right. So ironically, so my dad was a insurance and sales and management or whatever. But my mom technically did have her own business. But here's the funny part. She was so quiet about the fact that she had her own business. Like I always thought she just had a job. Like she wrote for a newspaper, she did public relations for our local schools. She did all these and she did it all under like an umbrella of her own
Mm.
publication company, but I had no idea. Like, I mean, I knew, but I didn't know because she never acted like an entrepreneur. Like, she never talked about it. She never talked it up. And it's so funny because years and years and years later, right? I'm running my own business, and she's like, "Well, yeah, remember when I had my own publication company?" And I'm like,
No.
no, I really don't. And not to take away from anything that she did, but as a kid, I just wasn't
Mm.
paying attention. I didn't see it. I didn't know. She didn't talk about it. And she didn't live entrepreneurial life out loud in front of me enough for me to recognize that that's what
Yeah.
she was doing. And I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, right? Like but I think I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Like I think that I could have, yeah, I went into teaching, but I think that I could have walked out and done my own thing right away. I just, you don't have the capital when you're
Yeah. Exactly.
22 to start your own business. My parents certainly were like, "Oh, trust fund baby, here you go." That was not happening. Um, but yeah, so it's funny because I technically did have an entrepreneurial mom, but I didn't
Right.
recognize her as one. And so at the same time, though, I think my spirit has always been do your own thing. Even when I was a teacher, I was the rebel. I was the one in the math department who refused to follow the math department way. Like, no,
That
no, no,
does
you all
not
do that.
shock
We're
me.
gonna go do pumpkin chunking with the catapults outside today. You all do what you're doing. I'm gonna go do
That
my
is
thing.
not a surprise at all, Allison.
You know, I think I said this in another episode. I'm not really sure that's entirely a
You
compliment,
do you, and you do
Bernie.
it so well. You are you in in all situations, and I love it.
Oh my gosh, I love it too.
Alrighty, friends, so let's land the plane this week. This was a parenting episode disguised as a business discussion because our kids aren't just watching what we do, they're absorbing what we model about work, money, boundaries, failure, and they're forming their own beliefs about entrepreneurship and what their future should look like. The goal is to set guardrails and let your kids see you work hard and stop working. Be disappointed without spiraling and keep trying with integrity. If you got the entrepreneurial bug and you're not looking for the cure, well, welcome to the club. So,
I love it. That's the best part about it. So, guys, thanks for listening. Remember, keep showing up, keep taking the next step because the caffeine is strong.
so are you.